All right. Well, good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Tamara Thorpe, and I am your host for the Mentoring Ecosystems for Learning and Development Forum. It is my absolute honor and pleasure to be the host for this event and learning forum for 2026. We have an incredible panel of facilitators today who are going to tell you all a little bit more about their organizations and the Learning Forum. Many of you may know me, some of you don't. I'm the founder of Real Mentors Network. I have that is built up sort of on a lifetime of work in leadership and organizational development, and really are on a mission to make mentoring more equitable and accessible. I have been a longtime partner of the UNM Mentoring Institute and am based here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it's an absolute pleasure again to be here with all of you. I am going to turn it over to our panelists to introduce themselves. To just quickly do a short intro for each of you, and then we'll create some space for folks in the audience to let us know a little bit more about them. So why don't we go in order of your slide images?
Yeah, good morning. I am Nora Dominguez. I am the director of the Mentoring Institute at the University of New Mexico, originally from Mexico City, so pardon my accent. And I am just based here in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Good morning from Seattle, Washington. I'm Lisa Fain. I'm the current president of the International Mentoring Association, and just delighted to be here with all of my esteemed colleagues and members of the mentoring community today.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Melissa McDaniels. It's great to see so many friends and colleagues on the call. I'm Associate Director for the Center for the Improvement of Mentored Experiences in Research, and also a scientist affiliated with UW's Institute for Clinical and Translational Research. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from across the globe, and happy National Mentoring Month. I am Chris Fund. I'm here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I direct CIMER, which Melissa just read out what the acronym stands for, and I'm thrilled to be here in partnership with our colleagues today.
So our Learning Forum is really designed to bring together the Mentoring Institute, CIMER, and the IMA to explore how our mentoring ecosystems expand access, elevate quality, and drive impact. So we want to invite you all to share a little bit with us about who you are by in the chat providing your name, your title, and the organization. You've already put in the location, so go ahead and let us know your name, title, and organization so folks have a sense of who's here. Looks like we've got a lot of folks from higher ed, some folks from the private sector, some K through 12. So thank you all so much for the introductions. We are now going to take this opportunity to kind of go through our plans for today. As I said, today you're going to get an introduction into the learning forums, an introduction into this ecosystem that we're building and growing with all of you. We'll have some group discussions and then move into our closing and next steps. So an overview for the year for our learning forums have been broken up into, you'll see sort of 3 sections here. We're going to focus in this first quarter, so to speak, on skill development. So we're talking about ecosystems today. Then we'll move into communication and developmental relationships, and then inclusive mentoring practices and coaching skills. In the late spring, early summer, we're going to move into organizational policies. looking at creating organizational support. And I know some of you who are here are great experts in that. So hopefully you all will contribute to these conversations. And then also looking at measuring impact and then integrating mentorship into leadership development and sustaining mentoring programs. And then in the fall, we're going to look at practice application. And that is looking at what does this look like in practice with case studies, networking, really mentoring across boundaries, and then looking at future trends. So this is our overview for the year, how we see things going. And as I said, our hope is that those of you who are in this ecosystem really contribute. So if any of these are an area of expertise, an area you'd like to share, please let us know, because we really want everyone to contribute it and share your experience, expertise, and knowledge.
Good morning again, and I want to introduce you to the Mentoring Institute if you are not familiar with us yet. The Mentoring Institute was built and created to promote effective mentoring practices that help people and organizations do their best work. And to do this, we offer training for mentors, mentees, and program managers. We have a fabulous mentoring micro-credential program for those seeking certification, and we offer program design and evaluation services for the broader community. We also are committed to disseminate research through our annual conference, our journal, The Chronicle of Mentoring and Coaching, our bi-monthly webinars, and now the MELD Learning Forums created in partnership with the IMA and CIMER. So that's enough. You can just find us at mentor.unm.edu, and I will be so happy to talk to any of you that might be interested in joining us at the Mentoring Institute. So this morning, Tamara, can we just change the slide? I am introducing the concept of mentorship ecosystems to you. And I want to recognize that these forums were created from an ideal. And this ideal is that the shared belief that learning grows stronger when people from diverse backgrounds and roles support one another. And now I want to invite you to close your eyes and imagine walking with me through an ideal mentorship ecosystem. This vision begins with a simple, beautiful scene. Two people, you and your mentor or your mentee, having a conversation that helps each other achieve your goals and aspirations. During your day, these conversations occur multiple times with different people, one-to-one or in groups, in person and online. From those single moments, a web of relationships emerge. In this web, information, knowledge, and guidance flow in multiple directions. A friend offers you a new idea. A supervisor assigns a challenging task. A colleague shares a lesson from experience. A leader opens a door. A student or family member helps us connect with our identity and their communities. Each relationship excels because all participants give and receive assistance, fostering mutual learning and growth, and reflecting each person's story and dreams. These networks move with us through the daily life and become part of our organizational life. Every team, every class, and every program contributes to the ecosystem. When you and other leaders create and promote policies, procedures, structures, and rewards that support learning and connection, mentorship becomes a natural way for people to work together. Those interpersonal relationships extend beyond a single organization. They flow across communities, industries, and professions. Partnerships among schools, associations, and community networks enable mentorship to transcend boundaries and amplify our voices and ideas at the national and global levels. Education policies, cultural traditions, equity movements, and intentional exchange of ideas shape this environment, ensuring that mentorship remains strong, open, and aligned with the needs of our time. Altogether, these layers form the mentoring ecosystem we aspire to experience, a living environment rooted in history, enriched by relationships, and amplified by our communities. It is a place where every interaction can spark growth, and every person adds to the health of the whole. Now, imagine yourself inside of this ideal ecosystem. See how you already shine, how your voice, how your presence, how your care and support for others contribute to this ecosystem. Imagine how your daily actions create connections, welcome learning, and build belonging. And now, as you open your eyes, I invite you to think about how you participate today in this ecosystem. And please answer the question, what it is your role in the mentoring ecosystem using the poll that will just show in the screen shortly.
All right. We've closed the poll. It looks like the vast majority of you are here and see yourself as a mentor, 78%, 55% as a mentee, 61% as a connector influencer, allies and program leaders, all of this really exciting. Nora?
Yes, so I'm very happy to see that we already have a very strong community. As we move into the MELD and all the remaining forums, I want you to start thinking about not only your current role, but I invite you to imagine all the different roles that you might take that will help us, all of us, to move together closer to this shared ideal through MELD. So thank you so much for joining us this morning and for your commitment. Together, we will continue to deepen our understanding of mentoring ecosystems and discover multiple ways to make this ideal a reality. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nora. I could feel my calm in my soul just as you described the ideal ecosystem, and so I love that. So I am really happy today to be part of the new MELD. It's a wonderful collaboration bringing our communities together. And Melissa and I, as well as several folks who are attending today, are representing CIMER. Our mission is to advance the science and practice of mentorship, and that's in service of the research enterprise. We have many services and programs. Many of them are focused on mentorship education for mentors and mentees across career stages. We have facilitator training, and that enables individuals to replicate and expand the different models that we have put forward and tested. We do research and development of new approaches and interventions. We convene individuals and organizations to engage in enhancing and studying mentoring networks. And we are really a promoter of culture change in partnerships with many organizations like those represented today that are committed to enriching the mentorship ecosystem. And so you can see why our organizations have come together in the spirit of that goal and are thrilled to be with all of you in that space. So on the next slide, following on Nora's wonderful description of the mentorship ecosystem, there are many elements to consider. So how do we get to that ideal functionality that Nora so beautifully described? Well, if you want to be in the ecosystem, first, folks have to have access to multiple mentors. So as Nora described, you walking and talking to one mentor and then talking to others who support your development and career progression access is important. Not everyone has access to mentors or to multiple mentors. And then there's the quality of those relationships for the things that Nora described to happen, to get the advice, to get the advocacy, to get the new ideas. those have to be quality, intentional relationships. And then the programs across the ecosystem that support mentoring or have mentoring components, those have to be effective and evidence-based. And then this is in the spirit of our individual mentoring, as well as at the programmatic and organizational level, is are we engaged in regular assessment to assess the quality of how those programs and interactions are happening? And then are we continuously improving for growth and improvement? And then finally, increasing that value and visibility of the work of mentorship. Do institutions and organizations demonstrate visibly their commitment to inclusive excellence through mentorship? So those are some of, not all of the effective elements, but they're incredibly important elements. And so one of the things we'd like to invite you to do, and you can see we're following a spirit here of seeing who's in the room and where you see yourself in this ecosystem, and then we're going to be moving into some breakouts. But in the chat, what we'd love you to do is to think about which element of effective ecosystems has proven the most challenging to you. And so actually, I'll invite us to go back one slide so you can see those elements. Which of these elements, or you could come up with one of your own, has proven the most challenging? Has it been providing access? Has it been improving the quality? Has it been engagement and continuous improvement? Has it been raising the value and visibility? So in the chat, we'd love for you to say which of these elements or another of your choosing, if it's not represented here, has been the most challenging to influence or to engage with. Seeing a lot of quality, value, access, not as much continuous improvement, but this is a super interesting conversation area for us to talk about as well, moving forward with this series. Yep, that institutional organizational commitment being really necessary. There's a couple of continuous improvements. Yeah, I want to highlight Bob saying, and a misunderstanding about what mentoring might be and could be. I love the what are we actually talking about and how can it also be aspirational to be more? Wonderful. Well, thank you. We are going to be leveraging this visualization of the ecosystem that Nora introduced us to, diving into different elements and how we can advance so that what you have found most challenging, we as a community can help move forward in that work. All right, I am going to now hand things over to Lisa, who's going to introduce IMA and do our final prompt before we head into our small group activities.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks so much, Chris. So I'm really honored to be the current president of International Mentoring Association, which, as many of you know, is here to create a global community for sharing best practices so that we can all have highly effective mentoring programs really through our diverse backgrounds, our diverse milieu, and the variety of venues that we represent. We have many, many offerings and encourage you to visit our webpage at mentoringassociation.org for more. But we really try to uphold the high standard of mentoring practice as a signatory to the Global Code of Ethics. We provide accreditation for mentoring programs and awards and recognition at our biennial conference. You can scan here for some more conference info. We'll plug this a couple more times, but we have our biennial conference coming up in May in Florida. Hope you will all join us there. We have a community of practice through coffee chats. And as I said, our conference in May, which is really a great place to be. And finally, we like to offer lots of different resources. We have a speaker directory, a consultant directory for speakers and consultants, and encourage you to utilize that directory by applying to be a part of it. And also, if you're looking for a mentoring speaker or a mentoring consultant, that's a great place to go. We have a Mentor Connect magazine that goes out occasionally where we feature peer-reviewed articles, a great place for you to showcase your work and your scholarly leadership, and a monthly newsletter where we showcase things that our members are doing, mentoring programs, mentoring events, shorter form articles. And if you would like to contribute to that, you can be in touch with me or with Michelle, and we'll make sure you have that contact information as well. What I want to share with you on the next slide is building upon what Nora and Chris have shared, and really the benefits of interconnected support across ecosystems. Why do this at all? And there's really lots of great research on this, and some of you have actually participated in and contributed to that research as well. We know that having interconnected ecosystems have stronger developmental outcomes. We know that learning accelerates when interpersonal mentoring is reinforced by organizational structures and societal norms that value growth and inclusion and connection. There's greater consistency and coherence. Aligned systems, of course, reduce mixed messages. And then what individuals experience in mentoring is echoed in leadership behaviors and policies and cultural expectations. Expanded access and equity is something we see as well. When mentoring supported across these ecosystems, opportunities, it's less dependent on chance, right? And relationships are really much more likely to reach those who are historically excluded. Resilience through redundancy. Having those multiple sources of support ensure that when one relationship falters, others can sustain learning, confidence, and momentum. There's higher engagement and retention. We have shared responsibility for development so that growth is no longer the burden of a single mentor or mentee. Organizations and systems actively enable and reward development relationships. And of course, you have culture change at scale because interconnected ecosystems allow mentoring to influence norms and behaviors and ecosystems beyond just individual pairs. So it shapes how work actually gets done and really becomes part of the ethos and the interconnectedness. So curious, go to the next slide. In the chat, if you can, again, share with us, what is one benefit that you've experienced? We'll go back to the last slide in a moment, so you can choose among them or add your own. Share with us, what is one benefit that you have experienced through your own interconnected support and ecosystems? Culture change at scale. Thanks, Tara, and hello. Opportunities for collaboration. Yeah, higher engagement, retention of teachers, shared responsibility, expanded access, opening doors, higher engagement, the self-efficacy. Thanks for pointing that out. Only one, asked Dion. Yes, it's wonderful to have multiple benefits, collaborations between areas and shared responsibility. I'm seeing a lot of different responses. Important, Oana, right? The ability to really have more intergenerational understanding, communication, and that sort of cultural competence across generations as well. Idea generation, holding environment. Thanks, Kinga. Sense of belonging, says Nora. And psych safety, says Jeremy. Hi. Okay, wonderful. Thank you all. Melissa.
All right, thank you all. So one of the things that I think we explicitly said at the beginning of this, if not, I'm going to say it again, a secondary sort of goal of this learning forum is to build community and enable you to have connections here and use this moment as a starting point for those. So we're going to have a small group activity. And what I will do, we're going to put you into groups of 4 or 5 people. And I'm about to put some instructions in the chat. When you get into your room, I want you to identify a timekeeper. I think I'm going to give you actually, let's say about 8 minutes in the room. I also want you to identify a note taker and identify someone who will report out to the group when we come back. So what I would love you to discuss for about 8 minutes in your group is, when you think of one of these aspects of effective mentorship ecosystems, value and visibility in mentorship in your own practice, in your organization, what comes to mind? How have you seen mentorship come to life in your own practice or in your organizations?
All right, terrific. Thank you. So note takers, you seem to have been making some progress, and I'll turn it back over to Melissa to check in with our reporters.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, everybody. And again, our goal is for these sessions to be knowledge generators and collectors. So this is great for us to be able to visibly see some of the ideas that came up. But would love to open the floor to some of the reporters to share one or two key points from your discussion about visibility and mentorship, whether it be in the context of your own practice within your organizations. Do I have any volunteers?
I'm struggling to get a sticky note going.
It's okay. Go ahead. Dave, did you want to share something verbally?
That might be easier for everybody involved. I was joking about my bad handwriting. Apparently, I got bad typewriting too. I think one of the key points is to be clear about the purpose of the program. Something Bob mentioned, be clear about who's for it, who's against it. So important. You would think everybody would be supporting something as wonderful as mentoring, but both Edith and I noted instances where it may not work. She used the phrase mentors versus tormentors, which I thought was hilarious and spot on, and how the program at my school was just burdensome. It just added work instead of relieving anxiety. And then Catherine talked about the program she's talking about at UC Santa Barbara, where it's based more on partnerships and collaboration. And I took a personal interest in that. She talked about a model where you've got three senior faculty working with the junior faculty. I experienced that at the start of my academic career, and it was a disaster. So show me that it could work, Catherine. I believe in that. So I think it really summarizes that. Be clear what you're doing this, what your purpose is, why you're doing it, and who's with you and who's against you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I'm going to move to, I see a handful of you here. I'm going to move to our friend Clint. Hi, Clint. Do you want to share anything about, you talked about either the challenges and opportunity of visibility of mentorship?
Of course, thank you. So visibility, we talked about, it's not only the resources that are already currently created, but making sure everybody is aware and that those resources are maintained and customized kind of as that moves on within and across that organization. But then that also led to a conversation around value of this customized resources and that balance between the broad constituent level versus narrow level, and how do we approach that within the organization, top to down and left to right, and all of those things. And sometimes there's a challenge and nimbleness needed in that.
So I hear from you specifically thinking about who your audience is when you're talking about trying to articulate that. All right, thank you, Clint. How about Ashley Fraser?
Hello. So in our group, we talked largely about mentorship being very intentional, and that the mentors that we're training, regardless of the context, that relationship and training being the thing that builds the community outward. And that the retention of, whether it be teachers or in my case, college students to senior year and graduation, is all about the community that is built being able to develop a legacy. And so the cycle continues no matter who kind of revolves through the door, that maintains itself and stays the same, with the core goal of being intentional with those relationships. So that was largely our conversation.
An intergenerational legacy and keeping that value and visibility over time. Thank you so much for that, Ashley. How about Julie? You've had your hand up for a bit, from Texas A&M, I think.
Yes, thanks everyone. We had great discussion in our room. One of the things we talked about is mentorship that isn't necessarily named, less informal, but making that more visible, because it does have a great impact. We also centered on, where does mentorship live within our organizations? Is it a compliance activity, or is it truly happening in a holistic way where it makes the kinds of impacts that we want to see?
And is it both and versus or, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we shared some comments about how when it moves into that compliance space, it becomes the burden without the impact, perhaps.
I'm going to call on Christine in just a second, but I also encourage those of you who haven't raised your hand, take a look at what's being written on the slide. And even if you want to comment or ask questions about those things, we can do that next. So I'll go to Christine Becker. Hi, Christine. Nice to meet you.
Hi, yes, great discussion so far. We talked about how obviously visibility is key because if you don't have the visibility, nobody's going to take advantage of your program. So that is like your home base or your foundation. Um, we also noticed that particularly in the academic world, there is an increased interest across the campus for enhanced practices around mentoring. We noted that it seemed to be top down that encouragement was coming from, which is really exciting. A little bit of an idea that when things have gone wrong, say on a project or something like that, they feel that mentoring would have fixed the problem or like mentoring would have solved this. So whether that's correct or not, it's still nice to see that mentoring is being thought of and more value is being put on it lately. And as well, was noted in our group that research projects and grants are specifically noting now that they want you to have a mentorship program. So that's also coming top down, but that funding is making it a requirement. So now nothing speaks louder than money, right? If these institutions want that funding and grants, then they're going to have to suddenly pay attention to mentoring, which is all great for us, right? It's a good problems to have.
And Christine, I may just sort of reframe something you said. What you mentioned that value and visibility can be leveraged at the organizational level. You sort of said top down, but I would almost say looking at the mentorship ecosystem, sort of inwards out. And you also mentioned policy, right? When the federal agencies have policies to require mentorship or mentorship education, that visibility rises. So thank you. I would like to invite folks to look at what's been written here or reflections on anything that's been said. And it looks like Tara, you have something you want to share. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I'll share a little bit from my group too. We talked a little, I really appreciated the question that included value and visibility because we really need both. And so in our group, we discussed a little bit. Some of us have both, some of us have one, not the other, or maybe it's not balanced in order to really put forth all the efforts that we're, have towards mentoring. But I think, as far as I appreciated what Christine was just talking about because I think with the policies coming from larger organizations with grant funding and whatnot, and then also having senior leadership support is what's helped my institution to put value and visibility on mentoring and why I have the position that I do as the assistant director of our Mentor Institute. So I think it's really helpful. We really kind of need all of that within our own little ecosystem, right? In order to be able to develop these programs in a really meaningful and impactful way.
Wonderful, Tara. Thank you for sharing that. Any other thoughts? And I also invite my co-facilitators if they want to jump in as well, please do.
Can I just throw out this conversation around overburdening in the mentoring process and in the mentoring context? I know in higher ed, which is where I originated my work in this space and my interest in this space. In higher ed, the idea of mentoring seems to take on this kind of heaviness that says I have to take on one more responsibility and I have all these other responsibilities. And so it loses its richness in the sense of if you can build a strong mentoring relationship, sometimes that burden is lifted, just depending on how the relationship is approached. And so I do think that there's a conversation between the values and the institutional piece that really talks about the culture of mentorship, which is one of the reasons why I did talk about mentoring versus tormenting, because sometimes in higher ed, the culture of mentorship started almost feeling like hazing from the postdoc to the tenured professor level. It is really a culture that I'm hoping that this new or this revived conversation around the ecosystem of mentoring will help to mitigate. But I just wanted to throw out there that this idea of just another thing to have to add to my already long list of things, but it doesn't have to be that way.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
and
have to
I think
be.
that's such a great point, because one of the hallmarks of a mentoring culture is that it's an understanding that mentoring is a way to beat overwhelm instead of contribute to the overwhelm. And a lot of times, I think you have a program and not a culture if it feels like it's a one thing to do as opposed to feeling like it's a vehicle to beat that overwhelm. So you really put the nail on the head with that. Thanks for sharing.
And maybe we have time for one more. Thank you, Etta, for coming. It's good to see you. We have availability for probably one more comment.
I'm going to jump in, Melissa, and just to follow Anita's comment, because I live in higher education too. And I believe that looking at the ecosystem has helped us tremendously, and moving from the one-to-one and exclusive long-term, where you are just the sole responsible for the growth of one person or multiple ones, then we move into this developmental network. So the responsibility of mentoring someone is distributed among the different roles in the network. And we come with many different creative configurations, from the one-to-one to group mentoring, in which you have one mentor to multiple mentees, or multiple mentors to one mentee, or mentoring circles. And we have been including more and more peer mentoring relationships, those lateral relationships that can help us to even lower the power differentials in between mentors and mentees. And it is just a shared responsibility. And it is also taking agency. So the mentor is not responsible for the developmental needs or to satisfy all the developmental needs of one person. It's the responsibility of the mentee to find and create those networks for themselves, when we, as leaders, can provide the conditions for those relationships to happen. And when we put those elements that are needed, like the proximity, the availability, but mainly providing the access. So that it is one of the ways to see this distributed system in the ecosystem.
Thank you, Nora, and what a wonderful way to, as we wind down this conversation, and you're getting some thumbs up, I think, in response to what you said. So process-wise, we are going to save this whiteboard, and we are also going to be saving the chat, and we'll be in touch with all of you sort of about how to access some of that information. But with that, I think I would like to pass it to Tamara Thorpe to bring us to the end here.
So folks have had to take off for their next commitment, but we want to thank you all so much for joining us for this kickoff session for our MELD, our Learning Forum. Once again, if you are interested in sharing your knowledge and expertise and time and talent with us in the Learning Forum, then please reach out to us. We would love to really have this ecosystem really curate and build and grow with all the knowledge and wisdom that is already here in the room. So once again, thank you all so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in February.